On today's episode of the Site Report, I'm joined by two fearless women who are taking over the construction industry. Chelsea and Hannah have become integral parts of our Keller team, acting as mentors in the industry, as well as active members of Quick, also known as Keller Women in Construction. Today, we are going to explore their career paths and how they ended up at Keller, what their day-to-day looks like, other organizations and roles they hold outside of Keller, and advice they have for other women looking to get their start in the field. So, Chelsea and Hannah, thank you for joining me today. I know we have a lot to cover. I know you both are, your faces are out there all the time in the industry. So, I think that's really nice. And just, it's a nice time to kind of just get together and really hear about your career stories because I'm sure this is going to inspire a ton of other people out there who are listening. So, Chelsea, I guess we can start with you. I just want to hear a little bit about how you came to Keller and how you got started in the industry. Is this something that you always wanted to do, or did you kind of change career paths along the way? So just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when I started school, I was not in a STEM field at all. I thought I was going to be an addiction counselor. That was the career path that I was headed on. And so after kind of going into the psychology classes and deciding this isn't going to really fit me, I shifted over to geology, which was a really strange shift. And so I finished my bachelor's at Kent State University in geology and then pursued my master's with a focus in engineering and geology. So I knew that I wanted to go into the engineering field. I didn't know what that was going to look like.
Mhm.
I started consulting right after grad school, literally 2 weeks after I left grad school. I moved to Pittsburgh and started working at a consultant. And I worked there happily until the pandemic. And that's kind of when everything shut down. I got laid
Mhm.
off and I started to look for other opportunities. And Keller just happened to pop up right around the same time. It's when everyone was coming together. So it was really easy to assimilate for sure. And
Yeah.
construction has been pretty great.
Yeah. I don't think I actually knew that about, I knew you're consulting before, but I didn't know that that's how you ended up at Keller. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And has it kind of been everything that you've hoped for, better, different? What are your thoughts on that?
Construction is, in my like completely biased opinion, so much better than consulting. It's nice to actually see things that you design get built. Where consulting, I think I spent 3 years on one project and it's just being built now. And I started on it in 2014. So it takes a while. In
Yeah.
construction, everything happens faster.
Yeah. And Hannah, you kind of had a similar experience, right? Like you didn't really major in something related to engineering, right?
Nope, I have two going on three civil engineering degrees focused in geotechnical engineering. So, somewhat different in that I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to get into infrastructure and building things, but wasn't sure when I went to school how I fit into the equation. I tried a transportation internship, didn't like it, was not doing well in my structural classes. But I was at Northwestern in Chicago, and a professor there recommended that I reach out to Hayward Baker and try to get an internship. And I did my first summer after my junior year at Thornton Quarry. Spent the whole summer outside running around a job site, playing with, it was a big grout curtain installation, and was like, this is where I fit into the equation.
Mhm.
This is really what I enjoy. And it was great working with not only the crew on site, but the guys in the Chicago office, and learning that you can apply the engineering side, but still be involved in construction, and tying the two together. I really enjoyed that. I left, worked in Denver for a little bit for Hayward Baker, left the Keller Group and explored some other options for about 8 years, got my master's degree, and then have come back to Keller. Now it's been about 2.5 years in my design engineer role.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I'm sure each day is probably different for both of you. I know no day is the same. Some days it'll be slower. Some days you're probably constantly going where to the point where you can't even answer emails. So talk a little bit about that, about how your days are structured. I mean, do you have control over planning your days out, or is that sort of based on what projects are happening? Do you need to be traveling? Are you in the office, in the field? So just speak to that a little bit.
So my office time is about 75% of the time, with 25% of the time in the field, and that field time is really, fortunately, I'm no longer in that field engineer role where I'm just, on the project and having to be there 24/7. But I can visit the projects that I'm designing, and I'm really trying to learn the construction operations and the field side of it, and how that ties to the design. So the days are really driven by what deadlines do we have coming up. Do we need a bid design that, that bid has to go in on a certain date, or else it doesn't count? Or do we have a submittal date for a project? And then I'm hopping back and forth between drafting and doing the calculations and putting together our designs for our crew, and then going out and visiting the sites.
I think I'll tend to spend a little bit more time on bids since I work primarily in ground improvement. So everything is upfront design and it's our design. So that makes it a little more design intensive on the front end. So my office time, I would say it's probably about 75%, 25% office to field, and probably about 70% of my office time is working on bids and the bid design. Really dependent on what the deadlines for everything is.
I can imagine some of those deadlines. I feel like they send them to you the week of, and they're like, "We need this by Friday." You go, "Okay, I'll drop everything I'm doing, and I'll do my best to get it to you." So I can imagine that. And then I know, along with obviously the typical day to day of what you're, trying to get the job done and everything, there are always webinars, presentations, other courses that are online available that you might be hopping in on. I mean, are you involved in a lot of different I guess, organizations within the industry? I mean, Hannah, we know that we've seen you a bunch of times on different webcasts, podcasts as well. So, I mean, I guess just speak to that a little bit, because I do know we have a lot of college kids who are always looking to break into the industry, kind of how they can get their start at Keller. And these organizations, I feel like, are a really good opportunity for them to just get their foot in the door as well. Just to, always learn more and kind of just grow their knowledge of the industry. So I'd love to hear what you guys are involved with.
Yeah, so I am involved just in this past year. I've become more involved with DFI, and that's a lot in part thanks to Hannah telling me to join the Women in Deep Foundations group. And then Hannah, you're all over every professional organization,
So
LinkedIn, like it's just
I've
Hannah.
received a lot of benefit from my involvement over the last 10 years with different organizations. Was lucky to start in a city like Chicago that had a very well defined, tight knit community with their ASC Geo Institute group. And I showed up there, and a former case employee, actually, she took me around and introduced me to everybody in there. She saw that I was the only student there, rescued me, and said, "This is Hannah, and she's looking for a job. So do you have a job?" And she said it, so I didn't have to say it. But that was how I got to Hayward Baker. I did that then again in Denver. I made connections from that. I won an ADSC scholarship and got to go to IFC in 2015. And I met so many more people through that. That's where I first got involved in the Women in Deep Foundations group, because I was one of their first in-person meeting. And Mary Ellen was running around IFC saying, "If you're a woman, I want you at this meeting. Even if you're not a woman, you have to be at this meeting." And then just grabbing people. And I was like, "Okay, that sounds great. I'll go to this meeting," and have met so many fantastic, interesting women and men through WITIF, and then industry at large, that have provided me a lot of mentorship and guidance, and eventually jobs. When I was looking to come to Keller, I reached out to someone I had had dinner with through one of those organizations. I said, "Here's my resume, and I think I might want to come work for you." And it was able to parlay itself into some interviews and eventually a job offering. So I've really benefited from that, and now I'm excited to be giving back a little more with DFI, with leading a technical committee, and some of the outreach that we're doing through the Augercast committee. I was really fortunate to have that great time with WITIF and start the mentoring pods, and now we have our monthly mentoring pod meeting, which I really enjoy. And I think the women that are in my group also really get a lot of benefit out of. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm involved in. It brings it full circle for me, and makes my career and what I spend my 9 to 5 doing a lot more impactful and meaningful for me. And So I get a lot out of just being a little more well-rounded in that way.
Yeah, and I'm sure I can imagine how much you learn from these other, people in the industry who are doing the exact same thing, maybe something different. You're able to kind of balance your ideas, jug maybe they say something that resonates with you, you run forward with that, brings a new idea in your mind. So is there something that's really, I guess, resonated with you from being part of these different organizations or like a main takeaway? I mean, I know you mentioned some things you're just really glad you did it. It kind of brings everything full circle. But is there any story or maybe anybody that you've spoken to that you're like, wow, I'm really glad I'm part of this?
Yeah, I've found one story that sticks out, and it's very technical, but I remember going to the micropile committee meeting at DFI and listening to two, industry heavyweights arguing about the grade of steel and what the difference is between like grade 150 versus 75. And it's all I knew at the time was that one bar was stronger than the other. And to hear about the metallurgy and the casting of the steel and how it makes it different, and this is why this code is this and this code is that. It was like a crash course in like specification language and design that I probably would have needed 10 years in the industry in order to get that. But just sitting there listening to the older generation of in this industry loves to argue with each other about like all these little details, and if you just listen you get to pick up those details and you can kind of tuck them away for the next project that you're involved with.
So I went to my first DFI meeting back in October of this year. And like Hannah said, it's really nice to be around people that just kind of understand what you do and the intricacies of it, and picking up so much from what they're just arguing about in technical committee meetings is really interesting. And then in addition to that, especially with Women in Deep Foundations, like it's nice to have that camaraderie in the industry, and it's building a network for yourself that's just very welcoming and open.
There's
Yeah.
also a lack of, there's not that many senior women in the industry. And if you put us all together in a room, then you can see other women who have, risen to the top of their respective fields and are experts and are doing what, we would like to do at some point. And there isn't a ton of people within my circle here in Philly or within Keller, but I have met other women in other roles across the country that I can ask those questions to, or I can bounce ideas off of, or just having a role model of like, here is someone who's kind of like me and they've done what I want to do and this is how they did it. So
Yeah, I think that's really important. And especially, at Keller, I know we started quick, the Keller Women in Construction. And I think that's just really taken off. That's been a huge asset to the company and just outside the company as well. Because I know there are so many college students, even high school students out there who would love to get into the field, but maybe they're scared because of what you were saying, Hannah. Oh, I don't know. Nobody's done what I want to do. So that must mean it's not possible, which is definitely not the case. So for these young women who are trying to get into the industry, but maybe a little hesitant just because nobody's done what they're trying to do, or they don't know what path to take on how to get there and how to grow their career, what advice do you have for them? And what advice have you been given along the way that really helped you get you where you are today?
I would say that's a really tough question, honestly. Because like Hannah said, there's a huge lack of women in leadership in our industry. So one of the things that I'm personally trying to do is be more visible to those women that haven't had the exposure. So it's kind of like that if you see it, you can be it sort of aspect. And then again, just creating that network of people that you trust and seeking out mentors that can help you kind of navigate your way through the career. That's always going to be a huge benefit.
the next generation is really grown up with that idea that you can be anything that you want to be. And so I see a lot of college aged women who haven't yet learned that some people think that maybe they shouldn't be in the industry, which is great because the more women that are on site and just kind of quiet down the other side that maybe they shouldn't be there, but once they are on site or they are involved in the construction process in some way, just seeking out mentors to better understand the job, the role, the expectations, to help balance out, conflicting expectations. Someone might tell you that this is one way that a field engineer is supposed to act, and that someone else might give you a different answer. And always having someone with a little more experience to bounce off those thoughts with is really helpful. And then just trying to get as much experience as possible, say yes to any good opportunity that comes your way. Especially when you're young, you never know which field assignment is going to lead to your newest career path, and what you're going to see on that night shift weekend job that maybe you don't want to do. But it can be a really fantastic experience, and you learn more 1 year on site than you would, I think, 5 years in the office.
I
Yeah.
agree with that for sure. Like field time is where you're going to learn the most throughout your career.
And I'm sure both of you have sort of experienced that at Keller as well. Is there a certain time or instance when you were maybe not really wanting to go in the field, or it was just you were so tired that day and you didn't feel like being there, but at the end of the day, you were so glad that you went, or you spoke with someone that just really impacted you, just that, and then that just made the whole experience worth it? Do you have any stories like that, or any special moments that stand out?
I think it can be tough to say yes to a field role, than taking the job as a field engineer, knowing that your like personal life is going to be somewhat at the mercy of the construction schedule. And where, especially for jobs further out west, you're just getting farther and farther from home. And that can be really tough because you're trying to balance, like, I want to join this kickball league, or I have a significant other, or I just want to be home at night to watch TV. Um, that is tricky, but that time will also come, and the time in the field does come to an end, and you will have a more routine life, if that's what you want, and you'll have your weekends that are more free. And this is, just a couple of year period in your life where you can travel a lot. You can get all of the hotel points and airline points that you could possibly wish for, or credit card points or whatever. You can make it advantageous. Uh, and just just say yes and be fully there for all of the field work, and learn what you can from the mechanics and the operators and the superintendents and your clients and the GC, and how everything is orchestrated together, because that'll pay off dividends as time goes by. And it's temporary, and once you're through that period in life, you're going to wish that you had a little more experience.
Yeah, both Hannah and I came to Keller kind of past our field engineer days. So when we get to go out into the field now, I think both of us are like, yes, like I get a day out of the office. It's gonna be
Yeah.
great. It's gonna be outside. But I'll say that my experience with the people that work with Keller, especially listening to the supers and the people that actually install the work we do, has kind of, I don't want to say change how I design, but maybe change how I look at a problem. So that's really valuable just for our work.
At Keller, our employees are the key to our success. We give our employees the tools they need to be successful in their careers. As part of the connected companies of Keller, our employees have access to a global network of industry experts and thought leaders. Whether you are just entering the workforce or a seasoned professional, Keller will help you to develop a career path tailored to your strengths. As we continuously grow, so do our career opportunities. To prepare our employees, we invest in their professional and personal development. We offer specialized learning and development programs tailored to specific career paths, from our project manager and field leadership academies to our foundations of leadership. Our goal is to give our employees the tools they need to be successful. To learn more about how you can get your career started at Keller, visit our website at www.keller-na.com/careers.
I feel like Keller is very into helping you if you are willing to learn and just continue those next couple steps.
I think, we are a construction company, and that is how we generate our income. And if you want to move upward within the company, understanding our business, our base business, and how we're generating that revenue is crucial to your growth, and how useful you could be as you move up higher in the organization. So learning, what it means to, spend a day outside in 0-degree weather, or, 100-degree weather, and what the people who are actually, installing the piles and installing the ground improvement, how they operate will only make you a better employees. You can make better decisions that, better affect our crews and can make us more profitable in the long run.
Yeah.
And I'll just add to that, like with Keller, my experience has been if you want more responsibility, it's there to have. You just have to ask for it. So
Sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes you can be like, "Oh no, why'd I ask for more? I don't want to do more." But I think that brings me to my next question for both of you. I know when you first start off your career, you probably are trying to juggle a lot of different things at the same time. So you're trying to balance that 9 to 5 work day. Maybe sometimes you're working the later shifts. So then that's cutting into your evening time. That's also cutting into maybe your family time or time with friends, time doing extracurriculars outside of work. So how did you both handle that work-life balance when you first started at Keller, or maybe just first started your very first career? Were you overwhelmed? Did you say, I can't do this? I mean, how did that look for both of you?
I think everyone has that breakdown in their car sitting in traffic at like 7 o'clock at night. Like, I can't do this anymore. But for me, it was just kind of a progression. Like, once you get out of the field, you kind of miss it. It's kind of that nostalgic sparkle thing, I think, a little bit.
Life is, we talk about work-life balance, and people say this all the time, but it's not like that it's always perfectly balanced. It's that, in the long run, you're kind of taking time for yourself when you get it, and are showing up for work when you need to. And I think having a mentality when you're younger, and if you're on job sites all the time, and it's the 12-hour days, or getting up at 3 in the morning to get to the site on time, um, understanding that like that's your time there, and just letting go of the rest of the day. Like, I think I made a mistake in the beginning, is I thought if I could go work 12 hours on a job site and then still try to do a whole regular life in the evening, it's like, just show up, give everything that you have for that day. And then when you do have the time to yourself, which might flex a little differently than a regular 9 to 5, maybe you have a longer weekend, maybe when you're in the office things are slow, so you leave a little early because you don't have as much to do. Just trying to take back that time for yourself when things are slow, so letting it ebb and flow, and giving your all when you're there and when you need to. And take your vacation time and take your sick time, and know that when you need to give a little more to your personal life, to make that as an equal priority as well.
And I feel like the teams at Keller too are very understanding and very good to work with, that they understand if someone's having a tough day, sometimes they'll be, okay, why don't you go home or just go take an hour, regroup, we'll handle things from here. So have you felt that support from your own teams, from your own, I guess, people that you kind of interact with on a day-to-day basis, that support, that they're there for you?
I have definitely. The people that I work with are very respectful of your time, and they never want to intrude on your time off. So I don't think I've ever gotten a call when I'm on vacation, which is not something that I could have said back when I was in consulting. So it's nice to work with people that respect your personal time. And it's nice to work with people who will let you have that balance a little bit and not just keep piling on.
Yeah, I had that same experience where as a consultant, I got emails at night, in the middle of the night, on the weekends. I got phone calls. I was told to bring my computer on vacation. It
Mm.
was just always be available, because you never know. And at Keller, I never get emails at night. No one ever calls me. I mean, people work early, right? But we're a construction company, so I'm not ever surprised to see something come in early. But there is never an expectation that you have to respond right when I send this email. Or people seem very respectful of what's going on in each other's personal lives. If you have to leave early, or like, we will work around each other. And the important thing is like hitting that deadline, or getting a good quality submittal together. And everyone seems to understand that that's what the goal is, not you have to be in the office at exactly at 8 o'clock just because I want to see your face.
'Cause you could be there at 8, but you could not be doing anything until, 9 or 10. So I think that is something important to note, and something that does make Keller pretty unique. Just we are that family within the family that we say. That's true. Everybody seems like they have mentors along the way that are guiding them. We're always looking for new faces to join our team. I know a lot of, again, the college students, they're always coming to us for summer internships. So what advice, I guess, would you have for them if they're maybe hesitant about getting into the industry, or they know they want to work for us, but they're not exactly sure what that career path may look like? What would you tell them about just taking that jump and just going forward and just doing it and just getting on board?
So definitely give an internship a try. It's a 3 month, job interview that goes both ways. You get to test Keller out, and we get to test you out. And to be open again to that opportunity, you can look at the Keller office nearest to where your home is, but you can also look at a Keller office across the country, and maybe take a few months, especially if you're going to be living in a hotel the whole time. Go to California or Texas or North Dakota and try something new, and see what it's like, and learn what the people are like. And it's a very short period of time. So definitely try, to get that internship, to get a little peek in the window.
Throughout your time at Keller so far, if you had to sum it up just using one word, what would you say? This could be about your personal experience, a project that you've worked on, any organization that you're involved with, but just one word to kind of sum up what you've experienced so far, what Keller means to you, what your job means to you.
That is such a hard question.
It's been an adventure for me. I feel like every few months it's something different. I'm not quite sure what's coming up next. But I've been on this adventure with a good group of people. So I'd say an adventure.
Good one. I like that.
That is such a good one. I don't know how to follow that up.
No pressure, Chelsea, but
Maybe engineering, because a lot of the people that I know that have worked in consulting have joked that they've had to come to construction to use their engineering degree. And I think that's kind of a unique thing about Keller, is that we do a lot of in-house design, and we actually think about the problem instead of saying piles to rock. So it's maybe just engineering.
I think that's good. And we can say an adventure in engineering. We'll sum
There
it
you
up
go.
with that. Well, thank you both for joining me today. I'm really excited that we got to hear more about your story. I love talking with you guys, and I'm sure we'll probably have you on again at some point.
Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Lauren.
And that about wraps it up for our show today. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you were able to learn a little bit more about the people who make our company so great. And as always, make sure to follow us on social media on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can always visit our website for more information at www.keller-na.com.